So yeah, today what we thought about, because we were discussing sort of what topic we can do yesterday, and I think it was actually Rosie, so she'll shout at us if we take credit for her idea.
Yeah.
But we had quite a lot of new viewers, new listeners last week, because obviously we announced the winner of the Everest Base Camp competition, and we thought, well, do you know what? There's an opportunity here to actually take it right back to the beginning, which is something we miss occasionally, because we do talk a lot about what boots you need, what's it like at altitude, but quite often there's a lot of thought that goes in way before that. So yeah, we came up with the idea. So you are a new adventurer, you've just decided to take on a big challenge. What's the top 5 things that you should be considering before you leave the house?
What should we start with?
Well, I was thinking, so these are not in any particular order.
No,
I'm not saying I would necessarily do them in this order.
No.
But one thing else as well, guys, if you've got anything that you think is really valuable and something that you wanted to consider or did consider, put it in the comments as well, because I think anyone that sort of, wants to get into this world of adventuring, they'll get our top 5. But if they get a couple more top 5s, they could get 25 top 5s.
That's true.
I guess the first thing to consider then, and again, this is not in any particular order, but the first thing we're going to talk about is flights.
Flights, very important.
Yeah, very important, because when you book a trip to go to Everest Base Camp, generally speaking, one of the top questions we get is, do we include flights? How much are flights? What flights do I need? Where do I need to go? So there tends to be a little bit of research, I think, that needs to be done in that respect. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because I think a lot of people, isn't it a bit of a misconception because some people do wait till quite close to, when they're flying out, because I think it's a bit of a myth that flights get cheaper, like right up until the until that. So, but there's a couple of like kind of hacks that you can use to kind of search out the cheaper trips.
Yeah, I think Andy's done.
He did
like I think there might be a blog or something that people can post in here.
I wonder if we can find that.
Yeah, but certainly we did a. Brian's just put top tip for first trek: remember to pack your sense of humor. I think that is right next to the toilet roll. But it was one of the things that I think has changed a bit through COVID as well. My thoughts on how best to go about flights. And I think you are right there. I think it has changed now, where maybe 10, 20 years ago, everyone used to get these last minute deals on flights and things like that. But I think that's more when you go into somewhere like Spain or Portugal and it's a summer holiday destination and they want to just fill the flights out. When you go to the far-flung regions of the world like Nepal, Tanzania, into South America, they don't really have that sort of way of working. And I tend to think the flights are cheaper the earlier you book them and get gradually more expensive as the scarcity is there.
Right.
And I think that's down to the fact that there's fewer flights. There's about 4 or 5 flights going to Spain every day from Heathrow, probably more than that. But there might only be one going to, Mendoza.
Right.
And I think that the seats that are remaining on that plane become more valuable.
Yes.
As you get closer to it. So I think, my first top tip would be, do your research and, choose an airline that works for you. Generally, there'll be a few, but get them booked about a year in advance, I would recommend. To get the best possible price.
Yeah, I think because when me and Jody did Kilimanjaro, when we were looking at flights, there's a couple of things that we did that actually did make a difference. And again, I think that it might be in Andy's blog, but going incognito.
Oh yeah, on
your browser.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure why that makes a difference. I think it might be to do with sort of the cookies and tracking and stuff. And also you can use a VPN, which also helps.
Oh yeah, I guess this is to kind of avoid. So if you've been looking for flights for quite a while, maybe the cookies will sort of direct you to an area where you're not necessarily going to get the cheapest deal.
But that can make a difference.
Yeah, I think so. Sure. I think I've just noticed a couple of guys mention here, don't go via Delhi, loads of transit delays. And then Lindsay said, oh no, you've booked via Delhi. Honestly, the first 2 times I went to Nepal, No, I tell a lie. The first time I ever went to Nepal was I went with Air India via Delhi, and I actually had 0 delays. I literally flew in, flew out. It was really easy. But the one thing, I mean, even if there are some delays, there is a big bonus of flying via Delhi, and it's the shortest sort of flight time. When I normally go via Qatar now, so which is about a 7.5-hour flight to Qatar, and then about another 7.5-hour flight to Kathmandu. And it's roughly the same if you go to Tanzania as well.
Right.
But when you go via Delhi, it's a 9-hour flight to Delhi and then an hour and a half to Kathmandu. So once you've done that first long haul, the vast majority of your travel is over.
Yeah.
I have heard some people say about Air India not being sort of the best airline and things like that, but I don't know. I mean, I thought they were all right.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
when I did it in 2016, I got return flights for 450 quid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you do want to get a cheap deal, I think they're good to go with. But
Yeah.
comes at a cost.
Yeah.
You pay elsewhere.
Yeah.
Some lessons I did learn through COVID as well. I think that everyone shops around, and it's about what you feel comfortable spending, and you can get really good deals through these like price comparison websites for flights and things like that. Skyscanner, Momondo is another one.
Yeah.
The one thing I always try to look out for, though, and we noticed this during COVID, that when you book through those people, you do go through usually an agency.
Yes.
That's a reseller of those flight tickets. When that happens, you are not dealing with the airline's terms and conditions for changes, and you're dealing with the agencies.
Right.
So price it, if you want to change your flight time, if you need to cancel or whatever, it can be a bit stickier and a bit more expensive to deal with.
Right.
When you go direct with the airline, you're guaranteed to get the best possible customer service, at least in my experience. And I've used Momondo and stuff loads, but when I'm shelling out $1,000 on flights or something like that, I tend to go direct with the airline, because I think if I have any trouble, they'll probably be easier to deal with than a much smaller agency.
Straightforward. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's flights. I think we got some cues coming in about flights as well. So Liliana, I think it's Liliana Evans. I do apologize, Liliana, if you're new, by the way. There is a sort of a running gag about how I get names wrong. There are days in my itinerary where one changes. Oh, so this is an altitude question. Ooh. I've started now, so I'll answer.
You've got to finish it.
So I'll finish it. But normally I'll answer those. But I was thinking about whether that was flight related. So Liliana, you've jumped the queue, but I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
There are days in your itinerary where one changes altitude 788 meters, 988 meters, and 1352 meters over one day. Thought 500 to 700 tops daily is recommended for acclimatization. Concerns about altitude sickness. Had it at 4,800 when trekking to Kili. Overcame and made it, but it was a rough night. So which trip are you on? Because I'd be interested to know which trip that is. I mean, 788 meters, 988 meters. I mean, I'm assuming that's the gain, because that's relatively low altitude. Like 988 is around Hanavan level, but I'm assuming that's the change. If you look on EBC, so if you look at sort of the NHS guide to altitude sickness, it'll tell you that it's not recommended to go over a certain amount of altitude every day, because you expose yourself to the risk of altitude sickness. Now, whilst that is tip-top advice, it can't really be transferred to the treks that we do, because the whole purpose is that we're going to altitude. For instance, you wouldn't be able to get to the summit of Tupkal, which is about a 900-meter ascent, because that's way over. But there's also nothing you can do about it. There's nowhere to stop in the middle. But one thing we do, and just to reassure you about Everest Base Camp, generally it is a much gentler acclimatization than Kilimanjaro. So I've done Everest Base Camp 4 times myself, and both me and Zach have done Kilimanjaro once. And I can tell you that Kilimanjaro, it is much steeper and you gain altitude a lot quicker. So experiencing altitude symptoms is not unusual. Everest Base Camp, there's a lot more up and down. So, we start at Lukla and we go down to Phakding. Then we go up to Namche, up again, but then back down to Namche. So we do that climb high, sleep low. And just to put your mind at rest, we have a 95% success rate and above in getting people to getting people to EBC.
Yeah, really good.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, there's plenty of questions coming through, guys. So keep them coming. You know, even if it's about the topics we're discussing or something else, always good to get more in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've more or less covered, I think, flights and things like that.
Yeah.
I think the next one probably would be, the next question is visa.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions about visas.
A lot of questions about visas, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually because when you go to, again, these far-flung regions of the world, I don't know what it is about, you know, red tape.
Yeah.
But you can get bogged down in it, particularly with visas, and particularly if the system that they use is not the easiest to navigate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they can be quite scary things to look at when you're filling in a visa because there's so much information on there.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple of things that you can do, because I mean, I don't know about EBC because I've not done it personally and doing the visa, but I believe you can, because obviously you can send off your visa, your passport to get your visa.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to do that, but you can actually go to the embassy in London.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
To get it like the same day as well. So there's a couple of different options you can do. And obviously you can get it in the airport there as well.
Yeah.
But I guess lots of long queues when you're there.
Yeah.
A bit less stress to do it beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, particularly so if we factor in Everest Base Camp and Kilimanjaro, both destinations where you can get a visa on arrival.
Yeah.
I've done visa on arrival in both those.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And I've done Kilimanjaro once, but I've been to Tanzania a couple of times.
Yeah.
The first time I went, it was not to climb Kili, but to sort of just go out and meet the team, and I did visa on arrival. Wouldn't recommend it.
No.
I think it's worth getting your visa plenty enough time in advance. It didn't take long. I think for my Nepal visa, I sent my passport I sent my passport to the embassy once I filled out the form on a Monday, and I think I had it back on a Friday. Totally done.
Yeah.
Tanzania, I think, is more of an online.
Yeah,
process.
I did. Yeah, so I did mine online a couple of weeks before. They, got it back fairly quick. And I think one of the things that I was worried about when I was filling out the visa, that I know now be useful for people, for example, doing extensions like Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Because you can just use the same visa for that. Because we
yeah.
had a couple of questions from people in our group saying do I need a separate visa?
Yeah.
But that Tanzanian visa, that just covers if you're going over to Zanzibar as well. So that's a handy little tip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. When I did visa for arrival in Tanzania, I highly wouldn't recommend it. I highly wouldn't recommend it. It's a bit of a double negative there, isn't it? I wouldn't highly recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Because me and Andy were sat there in the queue for 3 hours after a long haul. And the queue itself, it might be better now, but the queue itself wasn't particularly straightforward. So there was about 4 sort of kiosks, when you had to kind of queue up. But it looks like when you arrive in the UK and you get a bank of desks, you just go to any desk. But they had a system where you had to start at one and then move over.
Yeah.
So we didn't know this until we waited an hour in one of the lines to get to the front, and then they sent us to the other one. So then we had to do it again.
Right.
Funny story was just about how strict and non-strict they are. So they would not let you enter the country without a visa, right?
No.
If you haven't got a visa, they won't let you in. Now, I got to the counter with all my forms and everything like that.
Yeah.
And rookie mistake. Okay, that's $50 or whatever it was. And I hand over my card. No card, cash only.
Oh.
So then I'm like, okay, I don't have any cash. So how do I pay for my visa? And I was chatting to the guy, and he was like, well, you can't get in. I was like, well, there has to be a way. I was like, I need to get money. So what he did was he said, okay, no problem. And I walked through the visa hall,
right,
through the security and the magnets, past sort of baggage reclaim,
right,
left the airport, right, went to a cash point near the airport, drew out X amount of Tanzanian shilling. At the time, I was thinking, do I buy a car or a pencil sharpener for this? I don't know. Walk back in, go to the Bureau de Change, exchange it to US dollars, walk the wrong way through immigration, back through baggage reclaim, back through security, back to my main man at the kiosk,
there you
pay
go.
for my visa, then go through. And then when I did it that time with my visa, then it's like empty all the pockets and I put everything out and I lay it all out,
Wow.
which felt moot. You know.
Wow.
But yeah, that was.
You don't need that stress.
You
Just-
don't
just
need
do
it.
it before.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Just do it before.
Same goes for Nepal. Nepal, I think, is a little more straightforward. They've got these, they look like big cash machines.
Mm.
And when you arrive there, there's some finagling you've got to do.
Right.
But unless you're one of these people who can just sit in a queue and just not be stressed,
Yeah.
it really bothers you. Especially, you know, you get that thing where you're behind someone and they're like, and you know, and you're sitting there like, oh, come on. You know, so more than once I've sort of tried not to be rude, but do you want me to do the typing for you? You just,
Yeah.
you just tell me.
Just-
in fact, just give me a
Stand
passport.
back.
Just give me a passport, and I'll just fix that. You know.
We can sort it quickly.
And
Wow.
yeah, I can do this much quicker for the whole queue if you just let me do it. But yeah, if you do get your visa beforehand, you know, for those countries, much easier. And you'll feel so superior when you get off the plane and you see
Yeah.
everyone queuing up, sweaty, waiting for the toilet, and you just waltz on through and get your bags.
Yeah,
So much
100%,
easier.
100%. Stuart Taylor, biggest issue we're doing the online visa for Tanzania is keeping your pictures to the smallest JPEG possible. Yes. Too big of a file. Yeah, they won't accept it. Yeah, I think it's got the specifications on the document. So yeah, that's a good.
I think
point.
there is I can't remember the name of it now, but you just Google it, like file compressor or something.
Yeah, just compress it.
I think I had to compress mine like twice, you know, just to get it down.
Yeah.
But that's really good. I think it's got, I can't remember the name of it. Andy always talks about it, and it's got like a little elephant, I think. And you just upload the file, compress,
Yeah, I know the one.
compress it, and then you can just download it as a much smaller one.
Yeah.
So yeah, really easy to do.
Yeah.
Talking about visas as well. So there are two important things I think people need to consider. One is if you go into South America and you're going via the USA, you do need, and I forgot the name. It's like a girl's name is how I remember it.
All right.
It's like a transit visa.
Oh, okay.
Even if you're not only going, it's called an ESTA.
Esther.
See, I remember that.
There we go.
ESTA.
Well done.
Yeah, the ESTA, which is essentially a transit visa.
Yeah.
So if you are going to South America, make sure you get your ESTA.
Nice.
Otherwise, when you get there, you're just going to be held up, and you're going to have to try and get it online. And if there's a problem, you can't. Then disaster.
Mm.
The other thing to consider is K2 base camp.
All right.
The visa process is quite prolonged. So, if you are on K2 and you want to know about that, probably best to get in touch with us so we can help guide you through it.
Yeah.
You need to get like an invitation letter from our team in Pakistan. And you need to submit some documents like their IDs and some numbers and identification and things like that. So
a bit more complicated, that one.
yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I say, red tape.
Yeah.
They're mad for it.
Yeah.
Nice. What I'll do now, because initially I was going to talk about insurance,
Okay.
but I feel like that's been a bit dry.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump to fitness.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Zach, you've actually just done the closest trip, right? Kilimanjaro. No, I did Toubkal after Kili again.
Yes, you did. You've done it, what, 3 times? Toubkal?
2.5.
Wow.
2.5 times.
3 times. 3 times.
You've done it, what, twice?
Twice, yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to go back.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
keep
think
saying this.
I think you've said, and I know she watches. You can take your mum. to
Yeah,
Toubkal.
Jane Gidney, she might be on there, but yeah, she'd smash it.
Yeah, she'd love it.
Yeah. It's a great one, Toubkal.
Yeah, I love
Love it.
Toubkal. Toubkal's great.
Yeah.
But in terms of fitness, then talk to us about a little bit. What did you do about? Because I feel like I've talked about this a million times. It's good to get a fresh perspective.
As a first-time tracker, or
Yeah,
for
first,
Kili,
yeah,
or...
first-time tracker. So you want to start getting sort of trek fit.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of special exercises or what did you do in order to get yourself ready?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was quite simple, really. I mean, the first time I just honestly, because we've got Penaban, which is a local mountain. It's not massive, but just something that for training wise, just put on a backpack, weighted down, put some water in there,
Yeah.
and decent boots, the boots that you're going to wear on the trip, and just constant walking for 4 hours and then a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
Because I did Penavan so many times for going to Morocco. And to be honest, because this was before I was with Evertrack, the first time we did Toubkal, and because you were there, obviously you weren't well. But I definitely struggled just because I didn't, as a first timer, I don't think a lot of it was mental as well.
Yeah.
My mental state wasn't quite there. Not as much as I am now. I'm a bit more focused and resilient. But back then, not so much. So I did struggle, but we pushed through with the help of like everyone on the team, because that's the thing. Like you're with a group of people, you're not on your own.
Yeah.
And they're going to push you, and that's what I needed as a first timer to get to the top. Anyway, so that time, it was a struggle. But the second time, because the first time I didn't have a son.
Yeah.
Second time I did.
Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I think that's how it worked. No, he was a newborn. He was sorry. I hope my wife isn't listening.
I was gonna say I'm.
Let's just reverse those.
Yeah. So as you were saying, Zach, you're not long had your son.
Yes, no. But so the second time I went to Toubkal, I was like, right, I'm going to train hard, and for Killy as well. A bit later on, I'm going to train hard. I got my son. What am I going to do? I've talked about this on a previous DTI, but for those of you that weren't there for that, I got a baby carrier on my back, and like that was like a game changer for me. So any parents out there that are like thinking, I've no idea how I'm going to train with a kid, because you don't want to leave them at home with the other half, or you want to spend time with them in the backpack and just get walking. And he loved it.
Yeah, and this is a proper backpack, isn't it? It's not like you didn't first throw him in the back of the Osprey.
Yeah, just do a day
with like a reed, to kind of drink.
No, not quite. No. So lots of walking with him in a backpack.
Yeah,
a couple of lunges.
I remember you doing that. You went up the local Garth, I think, which is near us.
Yeah,
you're
up and down there a couple of times. I mean, there's so much you can do. Like it just opens up like a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah,
really.
I think you hit the nail on the head though, which is you don't really have to do anything, groundbreaking or.
No, you don't have to be like an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, it's about time on your feet really. Yeah. What you want to do is just get the feet, the legs strong, get some endurance in there, and just sort of, I always say like when you're training to sort of, swim, if you're going to be a competitive swimmer, the most training you're going to do is in the pool.
Yeah.
If you're going to be trained for a marathon, all the training you're going to be doing is pretty much going to be on the road. And when you're hiking, it stands to reason that if you're going to take on a hiking challenge, most of the training that you should do should be hiking.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say, the great thing about hiking is now in my mind, there's no real substitute for getting out there in the hills, but it doesn't have to be every single time. So even if you live in a flat area, like we've had some people that have, I think from Norfolk, I think, is that pretty flat?
Could be.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think someone was from Norfolk and said it's pretty flat. Flat. What you can do is just, you could Stairmaster. If you've got a gym, the Stairmaster is one that after every session now I do 15-20 minutes on the Stairmaster. So no matter what I'm training, I'm always putting, getting the legs used to sort of that motion and carrying my weight and stuff like that. But if you haven't got a Stairmaster and you can't afford the gym, then most people have stairs at home.
Yeah, if you're in a flat apartment.
I actually know. So when I was in Newport Leisure Centre, this is a long time ago, there used to be a multi-story car park opposite the leisure centre. And I used to park there and go to the gym. And then quite often I would see this one chap, and we're talking 20 years ago now.
Right.
And he would sort of be going up and down those stairs with a backpack on.
Nice.
And one time I said to him, like, oh, how come you, what are you doing?
What's going on?
And he was like, best exercise you can get, mate.
Yeah.
He was like, keeps me ambulatory, because he was like in his 60s. He was like, and it doesn't cost anything. It's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. And it is just about time on the feet. I think a good thing you mentioned earlier then was, if you are going to do a weighted rucksack, a lot of people do weighted rucksack, but they might put like sandbags or
Right.
something in there.
Yeah.
You're kind of committed at that point to carrying the whole lot home with you.
Yeah.
Water is a good idea.
Drink it.
So
on the way.
reuse plastic water bottles. You can fill them up, and if you get thirsty, you can drink them, and your pack will get lighter.
Yeah.
Or worst case scenario, you can just pour it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Someone's
prefer that.
going to shout at me about wasting water or something like that.
Just
But
drink it. Water your plants at home.
yeah, water
Take
your
it.
plants. Like, to me, I think if you're pouring water and you're outside in the mountains and it's going on the ground, it's never wasted. That water will somehow go into,
bigger picture.
bigger picture. Yeah, exactly. Look for a particularly dry patch of grass and pour it on there. But yeah, no, that it is a really, really real big one.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say as well is that actually taking on challenges to compete a challenge is a really good idea. I know a lot of people like probably Lee Wyatt. I think he's probably a bit of a savage. Bri, these type of guys are always taking on these like big challenges.
Sure.
Now the challenge doesn't have to be massive, but I think you do hold yourself accountable when you sign up for something.
Yeah.
I remember when a long time ago, when my knee wasn't made of metal, I signed up for a half marathon.
Right.
And I didn't really have much of a training program until someone just said, well, why don't you just enter a 5K and then a 10K? And it was great. It was like having that day that I needed to run 5K by was great. It gave me a target and a reason to get out there.
Yeah.
And a metric to measure myself by. And then when I went from that, it was like, okay, I'm going to enter a 10K now. And it did the same thing for me.
Right.
And then ultimately then I was able to do the half marathon.
That's cool.
I think if you're doing trekking as well, some people don't need a reason. The outdoors is lovely. But if you want to enter like the Glencoe Challenge, or like a 3 Peaks Challenge or something like that, it can give you a bit of something to aim for during the period that you're training, because some people can go on for a year or two before they book a year or two in advance.
Yeah.
How do you maintain the mental focus to stay fit enough and make
tough.
sure that you arrive at the right time fit? So
It's a tough one.
Awesome.
That's good.
I think we'll dive back into the drier subjects now.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Oh, insurance.
Love it.
Insurance. Yeah, insurance. It's it's very extreme. It's extremely important.
Yeah,
It's an extremely
it is.
important thing.
And I'll be honest with you, the first time I ever went to EBC, I realized that I didn't have insurance when I arrived in Kathmandu.
Oh, really?
And I was thinking to myself, do I really need it? Like, no, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And when I got to Phak Ding, because I'd started the trek without it, I was seeing the helicopters.
Yeah.
And almost certainly they were just carrying supplies.
Right.
But in my mind, I was like, every time I saw one, and this is one thing I have to think about now, is because I have a slightly anxious disposition sometimes. And when I go to EBC or do these trips now, because I've done so many, I don't get nervous ever.
Right.
No matter what mountain, even if it's new, I don't like. I'll judge a situation, and if I have cause for concern, I'll be concerned.
Yeah.
But I don't ever get the anxiety that comes from the unknown anymore. But when I think back to my first trip to EBC, I really did.
Right.
And I remember everything bothered me. I was struggling about like, what if I get sick?
Yeah.
What if altitude gets? What's that headache? That's got to be altitude. My brain's going to explode.
Done.
So I sat there and I logged on to the Wi-Fi in Phak Ding and bought insurance from the next day onwards.
Right.
So I was covered.
Wow.
But I wouldn't follow my example. I would get it in advance because it's not just about what happens to you when you're out there. It's about, COVID was a solid example of those people that already had the cover in place.
Yeah.
By the time COVID hit, with all the flight cancellations, trip reschedules, and all of that sort of stuff, it gives you that extra layer of security.
Yeah. Well, because there's so many companies out there, and I'm sure that's a big struggle that people have, is just looking through all like who to go with for your trekking insurance. I mean, I think I went with True Traveller. For Kilimanjaro, and it's good because there's a specific almost package that you can pick.
Yeah, for Kilimanjaro.
Or there's certain altitude. Points, so it's really good. True Traveller.
Yeah, they've got like Extreme Pack or something like that. But I think with True Traveller, there is a there was a Kilimanjaro package.
Yeah, a specific one.
Yeah, and when there is one as well for trekking in Nepal.
Yes.
When you buy it, you need to click the trekking in Nepal option as well.
Yeah.
And you're covered. I think True Traveler's a pretty good one in terms of who I've personally used.
Mhm.
I think I've just noticed something Andrew Scott said there at 78. It still blows my mind every time he tells me he's 78.
78. Wow.
Yeah, blows my mind. Like an inspiration right there. I would,
Amazing.
if I am 78 and I still have the adventurer's mindset and still have a willingness to get out and do things, do you know what? I'll have considered life won at that point. So Andrew, I never do it enough, but mate, just what you're doing is fantastic. I think, you are right though. I know policies do exist because I trekked with a guy who was 72 and he managed to get one. I think it is a question of sometimes shopping around. And if you get in touch with a company and they're not able to offer you a policy, almost certainly you can tap them up for recommendations because they're on the other side of the industry, so they'll know.
Yes.
I think Campbell Irvine provide policies for the elder statesmen. So I think try Campbell Irvine, try True Traveler. The guys at True Traveler are really helpful. So I think if you call them and they're not able to offer you a policy, or maybe it's very expensive, I think keep trying.
Yeah.
You know,
Big Cat.
Big Cat, that's another one. Big Cat.
That's another one.
Yeah. So I think, let me have a look. 2 seconds. I'm just making a note. So Big Cat is really good. Yeah. Just gotta get those advertisers down in our stream, mate. You know. So we already have trips in the Karakoram. So if you do want any, I mean, I admire the gumption of the guy. You know, it's certainly a way to get a quick ad in, I guess. But these people that have a tracker, they're here for us.
Yes.
Jerome says Big Cat, don't want to know him.
Wow.
Let's have a look. Wildlife white. That's Monique.
Okay.
I'm certain that's Monique.
Yeah.
I spotted it earlier. Yeah, we got a couple of people now with different sort of names like that. It just gives extra challenge to sort of remember. Jerome said there is still a large element of ageism in the insurance world, no matter how fit you are. I mean, I'd be inclined to agree. I think that not any no two individuals are sort of equal, really, in terms of their ability and mindset and what you've done throughout your life. And certainly, you can be 78 and fitter than most 28s, or fitter than some 28-year-olds. I guarantee you that, because when I trekked with that guy who was 72, he was absolutely, he loved it, he relished it, and he had an amazing experience. One thing I do think is I'm a big believer that wisdom comes with age. And when I think back what I was like when I was 20 and now I'm 40, I think that 20-year, I would definitely do better on a hike now than I did when I was 20, despite being fitter. Yeah. And part of that's the mindset, I think, and that ability. So, Awesome.
Oh, Jamie, how long before your trip can you book your travel insurance?
To be honest, I don't think there's much of a limit. I would pretty much start getting it the moment the trip is booked, or at least have it on the radar at that point.
Do some research.
Do some research. I think most companies, you can go online and put in, when you go in, and if it's too early, they probably give an alarm and you won't be able to purchase it. But I think almost all the time you can get policies whenever you want to buy them, just for X date in the future. So I generally probably get mine between 9 and 12 months in advance before the trip.
Lee, 9 months.
Is that what Lee Wyatt? I'll book 9 months ago. And Lee's the same. Mental fitness will always win. Absolutely right. I mean, I think I've seen lots of really fit, competitive guys, turn back, where people like who are, the muscle perhaps we need to work on the most is between the ears,
right?
Because if that's strong, the body's strong. And I think talking a little bit about when just jump backwards to your first ever Toubkal trip. I don't think it was like a lack of fitness or anything like that. I think it was a hard trip, that one, and it was the last day. I didn't get to the summit with you on that one, but I think you were fine on summit day. It was that last day back when I
Yeah.
think the fatigue kicks in.
Yeah.
And you said if at that point when you're physically at your lowest, for some reason you lose grip of the mental
Yeah, I
gumption,
think
it disappears.
it
you
was
know.
a hard one. Yeah, because like you've made it to the top, and then you're coming down, and it can be a long way. I was just like walking really slowly. I think you and me were kind of at a similar sort of
Yeah.
pace, and we were towards the back. But like, it's just hard because because I'm a quiet guy.
Yeah.
I'm just like quietly like suffering.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a tough one coming down. You don't always think about it, and especially on Kilimanjaro as well. Coming down on summit night, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So you've got to be mentally prepared for that, because yeah, it's certainly not easy.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Summit, the 4-day Toubkal, so Summit to Imlil in a day, is tough.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that. I think
Yeah.
it's often overlooked because it's not the highest trip
Yeah.
that we do.
I think it's underestimated.
But
to be honest.
Toubkal is steep to the top.
Mm.
You know, there's no part of the mountain that isn't really that steep.
Especially when you had the weather that we had on the second
Oh,
time.
yeah,
we
that
went.
was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that was
a great experience. but
it was.
tough.
What was amazing about that was that the weather pushed us, I think, to our limit.
Yeah.
Much worse, a little bit colder, a little bit windier, a little bit less visibility, and it probably would have been a call it syndrome.
Yeah.
Back down. But as it happened, we had like almost the limit of each one.
Right. Yeah.
So it felt like a real adventure.
It was pretty cool.
Interestingly enough, though, when I went back then to do the third summit, and it was 2 hours longer.
What
Me and you got to the top an hour quicker and then back down an hour quicker. So
Wow, I wonder
overall,
why
we
that
shaved
was.
2 hours off the trip.
Hmm.
I reckon it was to do with very little breaks.
That's true.
When
It's not much,
we water had frozen, it was too cold to stand in one place for very long.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we had very few breaks. So when we think about it, if we didn't stop to put crampons on, can you think of a time when we stopped on the way?
Not really. I mean, Mohammed, our guide, he was just on it, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
like, right, stop, and then move.
Yeah.
We've got to go. Like, we
And
can't
then
stay here.
all the way down as well. I can't think of a time where we stopped,
No.
unless we were taking crampons on and off.
Yeah. That's
Nothing really
that's the
happened.
only time, yeah.
Hey, look who it is. It's Rebecca.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comp winner.
Yay!
Awesome. Another congratulations to Rebecca. Yeah, so happy for Rebecca.
Yeah, congrats again.
Do you know what's amazing is I remember when we first started these comps and we'd announced the winner, and then I got to go with a couple of winners. So I got to see the full cycle.
Yeah.
And I often wondered, like, am I ever going to become like desensitized to this? Am I going to be like, Chris Tarrant when he gives like the 10th guy £1 million? And do you know what? No. Every single time I love it.
Good.
And I think it's because it's like a true passion of mine.
Mm.
And then I know that someone somewhere else who has that passion has now been sort of the opportunity to go.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And everyone always says the same thing as well, like, I never win anything.
No.
And I think this is why.
Yeah.
This is what was
The
happening.
biggest prize of all.
The mountain gods were waiting for you.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. So yeah, insurance, I think we pretty much covered.
Oh, something just to go back to insurance, just a little tip that so when you've got your insurance and you're going on your trip, remember to at least have a digital version or a printed version of your insurance with you.
Yeah.
Because especially on Kilimanjaro is that they'll want to see that.
Yeah.
And note down the insurance number and all that. Just a little tip that some people might not know.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah. Paper copies.
Yes.
I was on a skiing trip actually where you had to have the the COVID pass.
Right.
I had it on my phone.
Yeah.
My battery died on the plane listening to podcasts.
Priority.
So when I got there, the guy was like, "Can you show it to me?" I had to show him my dead phone, and it was really weird. It was just like, "This is my phone. It's dead."
Charger?
But behind the black screen is, and he was like, "Ah, go on." I was like,
Not worth the trouble.
and that's how it spread.
It was you.
It was me.
Damn.
I still had a bit of bat in my teeth here. But no, actually, in all seriousness, that time was a nightmare. But yeah, it's good to have things printed out.
Yeah, exactly.
And the final one that we've saved, and I think
Go on. Yeah.
we won't do too much of a deep dive because I think we'll lose our last 15 minutes with this one, is equipment.
Yeah.
and about sort of what equipment you need and things like that.
Mm.
We're always happy to help provide you with guides in this respect, and kit lists that'll give you the essentials. It's something actually we've been working on sort of revolutionizing is our kit list, because obviously we write a kit list, and then a year later some of the items have changed, and also some of the guidance changes. So historically on Island Peak, you could get away with sort of B2 boots all year round. Now we're saying that you can probably get away with them in the springtime, but in the autumn, when you're coming close to winter, you really need the double layer B3s. Because the climate change, the way it's happening is that the Himalaya the seasons are getting wilder, and one of the things that is getting colder. And more unpredictable weather really is probably more accurate. But I think it depends on what trip you're doing, I guess, but I would start thinking about equipment again right away. You don't have to get top of the range everything.
No, 100%.
It's in, like, a lot of the people that you meet when you do treks and things like that, they have a lot of like high level gear, but that's probably because they've been building that up over time.
Yes.
When I first went to EBC, I got my base layers from Aldi. Were they the best? No. Were they good enough? Yes. They were perfectly fine. Trekking trousers, I think I used Crag Hoppers. And I think I got Mountain Warehouse fleeces and things like that. These are all things that you can get enough of to be comfortable on an EBC, Machu Picchu, or Kilimanjaro. And then if it is something that you want to do, and you also visit the mountains in the UK, then you can build it up over time and start buying like the Rabs and
definitely adds up though, doesn't it? I mean, I think you're right with getting, you can get cheaper stuff elsewhere. I think one thing that personally from my point of view that I wouldn't skimp on is a good pair of boots. I think because when I did Toubkal the first time, I think I had some knockoff brand, I don't even know what it was, and my feet afterwards, they really suffered. So like, other things, more or less you can kind of skimp on, but I think boots is something that, it's worth investing.
I think you're right. When you think about it, when you're going on these incredible journeys and really you've got literally like, just your feet carrying all your weight, everything you're carrying over all the rough terrain. They are important to look after, and I think you are right. Invest in a good pair of boots. Insoles as well, I would say, are a game changer. Often the insoles that come with boots are rubbish. Really, they're there because they have to sell one. But specialist insoles like Superfeet, they do loads of different types. I use the Trailblazers in my hiking boots. They're really good. I've just noticed as well that Charlotte, Alice, Decathlon, Liliana said.
Killy trip.
Oh, I was gonna say like Charlotte. Yes, of course. Charlotte.
She was on a Killy trip.
Welcome, Charlotte. Nice to meet you. But Decathlon really good actually for getting good quality stuff. I've known people that go to Decathlon and buy like the ski jackets and things like that, and use those on trekking. But they do they do really, really good stuff.
Nice.
Mason said, Salomon Quest 4D okay for EBC? They'd be fine for EBC. Do you know what? At one point, probably half of all the boots I saw were Salomon 4D Quests. For things like EBC, Machu Picchu, Tour de Mont Blanc, you just need a good pair of hiking boots. They don't have to be specialist rated, crampon compatible or anything like that. And then when you start climbing peaks and you need crampons, you have to up the level again and again and again. So, for instance, the boots most people use now to go to Mera are £600,
right?
But you can get away with a pair that's like around 100, 150. We'll get you a really good pair of trekking boots.
Cool.
Awesome. What do you reckon, Zach? Should we just blast through some of these queues?
Let's see what we got.
Because I think quite a few have come in. So I'm going to move my phone there so you can also see them.
Okay.
Do you want to take
Elaine, let's have a look at your question, Elaine. So my head's a little scrambled trying to work out how everything on the kit list, plus presumably all your trekking snacks and bars, is going to fit into the 15 kg luggage allowance on the internal flight. I know you can store your before and after trek gear at the hotel, but does it really pack up this small for 12 days on the road? I love the tip about power banks in the pockets, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a good
She's
tip.
put on also, at what point would the 80-litre bag, higher jacket and higher sleeping bag be available? I'm worried if it was after the internal flight, in case there would be no one left wrong size. Okay, yeah. So much anxiety. Do you know what I mean? This is what I was talking about. Elaine's exact problem here was sort of when I first went away.
Right, yeah.
All those sort of anxieties were at play. So yeah, first thing I would say is that I've done EBC 4 times, and you can get the bag down to 15 kilograms with a little bit of finagling.
Yeah.
So one of the things is obviously you're not going to carry any. In fact, I'll start at the bottom one first because this will be the good order. You'll get the duffel bag, sleeping bag in Kathmandu before the internal flight. So you will be able to be in the hotel, in your room, transfer everything you need into the duffel bag. And there's a weigh-in scale in the hotel as well for you to double check. I've bought a little one. It was like a $5 on Amazon, like one of those luggage ones you can hold up.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can actually practice and get it down. So yeah, I would start by saying there's some quick wins. Wear your boots, wear any heavy clothing you've got on you. Yeah. Empty all the water out. Carry your power banks and cameras, keep them on you. And then with regards to snacks and things like that, I tend to get those mainly in Namche. It's only sort of 2 days of trekking, and you can get loads of stuff in Lukla, even, where there's loads of shops in Lukla, and you've got time once you land to kind of visit some of those shops and buy like Mars bars and stuff like that. And then certainly in Namche, where you're there for the acclimatization day, there's loads of stuff. So I tend to stock up on all my stuff there rather than carry it all with me. I will take some stuff with me, stuff I've taken from home. But, other than that, I don't feel like 100% of everything you're going to take to the mountains with you has to be brought with you at that point. You can get things like snacks, drinks, and everything like that whilst you're on the trek, which does keep the weight down. The other thing is as well is be a bit ruthless with yourself in terms of, we want peace of mind, but we also don't need to carry 2 or 3 of everything, so generally speaking, I'll have 3 pairs of trekking trousers, 2 thin ones, they fold up and they weigh nothing, and then a thicker pair just for warm evenings. I'll wear my down jacket and I'll put my Gore-Tex one in there. That doesn't weigh anything. Yeah. And then you've got socks and pants. They weigh hardly anything and they don't take up much room. Trekking poles, they have to go in the internal flight in there as well. But again, what do they weigh? And then it's just things like, I don't know what else is in the bag, sort of base layers. Yeah, base layers, I'd probably take 4. 1 fleece, that's all you need. Because you never really have to double up on them, socks and
I don't think it's
gloves and hats and scarves and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of I think once you actually get down to it, you'll realize that you don't need a lot. That's what I'm hopefully going to get you to know. I mean, also don't worry that if you do leave something in the hotel that you wish you had brought with you, just talk to your guide. Almost certainly they can source something for you, because there's loads of places, like I said, in Namche and Lukla, where you can buy stuff. There's a North Face shop in Namche. So yeah, anything, you're never going to be left without anything you need with the guide's help. So yeah, hopefully that's covered that one.
I'm sure there's a lot of packing and repacking and seeing.
Oh yeah. It's funny because when I did EBC, I did it like quite close together quite a few times, and I got to a point where I just knew. Because I'd weighed it so many times. But now if I did it again, you're right, I would weigh it quite a few times, and then be like, 16 kilos, open it up.
That was me on Kelly.
What can I take out of here? And you will look at it, you go, but I need everything. And then you realize you're overthinking it, and you'll just pick something up, put it in your pocket, and then go, okay, that's fine. I just have to deal with this till I pass the flight.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew Scott, don't worry about smelling. I've never noticed it on my tracks.
No, I think that's because the ambient smell reaches a level where no one person like rises above. So yeah.
Great.
Do you want to get one?
Yeah, let's have a look. I've got more. There's a Machu Picchu question from Wildlife.
That's Monique.
Yeah. Hi, just reading about the guidance on Machu Picchu. I was hoping to go to Cusco a few days earlier to get used to the altitude and visit a few other places in that area. Is that not possible?
Yeah, I mean, get in touch with the team. Generally speaking, if you arrive a few days earlier, we can sort of do that for you. I think a lot of people do it at the end as well, but no, it is a good idea to kind of get there, because Cusco's quite high, so you can
Right.
acclimatize, and have a little time to kind of relax and everything. The only little bit, and this is not just related to Machu Picchu, but it's everywhere really, when people go and they arrive early, is I always just say, just be ultra cautious around sort of hand sanitizer, and eating well and things like that, because whenever you go to a foreign country like that, you're always likely to get a stomach bug at some point.
Yeah.
And we really don't want that to happen before the trip.
No.
So, and a day or two, absolutely fine. I'm sure it won't be a problem. But I do know a couple that arrived in Kathmandu a week before the trek
Oh, really?
to just do some enjoyment and traveling.
Wow. Fair.
And picked up a bit of stomach issue.
Wow.
Not good.
No, that's not ideal, is it?
Yeah. Also, after the trek as well, it's so much more relaxing, because you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
But no
Doesn't
problem. Yeah, if you want to arrive early, just get in touch with the team, and I'm sure we can work that out for you. That's no problem at all.
Nice.
Um,
Do you want
yeah, let's have a look. What's
Got a
that one
couple of
there?
ones.
So Mason has said, just booked onto EBC for 2026. You've got a 65-litre rucksack that can also be used as a duffel bag, and you're going to buy a 40 to 50 litre to use as a day pack. On the website, it says porters can carry our luggage if we want, but it says that a porter can carry luggage for 2 people. How would they carry 2 large bags, or do they just have to be under a certain size? So what I'd recommend, Mason, is, the 40 to 50 litre, I mean, that's probably even a bit big for a day pack for EBC, but if this is a pack you're going to buy and use in the UK and use a lot more, it's fine. The only caution I have with when you buy a pack that size is that just be conscious not to overpack it.
Yeah.
When you've got the space, you tend to put things in for peace of mind.
Exactly.
And it does add up when it's on your pack all day. And then you'll be given an Evertrek duffel bag when you arrive in Kathmandu. That's around an 80-litre duffel bag. It's perfect for the trip. We recommend you use that one, and the porters can easily carry 2 duffel bags. And that's why we have the weight limit. It's not just for the internal flight, but it's also for the porter's health as well. So the porters then can carry 2 rucksacks, and the way they do it, they strap them together and carry them the Nepalese way.
Yeah.
So I think 30 kilos is what they carry, which for them is a walk in the park.
Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's have a look. Sean, I made a Tuesday tune in. Nice to see you. How much is a helicopter back these days?
I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
We always try and encourage people not to take the helicopter back unless you need it.
Yeah.
Because it's best to have completed the trip end to end. Because that's all part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then the helicopters, I mean, at the cheapest, they're about $1,000 if you wanted to get it for just one person. It depends where you get picked up from and where you're going to. So say you wanted to get picked up from sort of Ferice and taken to Lukla, that would be about $1,000.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go to Kathmandu, anything from $3,000 to $5,000, depending on availability and things like that.
Yeah.
We can always get people down in the event of an emergency. So if they need to be evacuated due to altitude sickness or injury, but I'd recommend you take do it the proper way.
You want to be completing it and walking back.
Yeah. I mean, I've done both. But I did the whole trek twice before I jumped on the chopper.
Yeah.
And that was mainly so I could get from A to B on a for a work time scale type thing to meet customers. But I think I would recommend doing the walk. But it's quite expensive. A lot of helicopters in Nepal are kind of like taxis. We tend to think of them as mountain rescue, but they are taxis.
Yeah.
So the availability of those and time and how many people it needs to pick up, and it does vary. But one thing Evertrek is really proud of is that there's no markup when we arrange helicopters. Just the bare price that gets passed on to the customer, and we'll negotiate the best price. We got no interest in making money on helicopters. Hopefully that's good.
Nice. Time for 1 or 2 more?
Yeah, why not? Let's have a look. So Elizabeth Holt has said, hope it's not a stupid question, but is the EBC trek to the south or north base camp? Thanks. No, not stupid at all.
No.
It's to the south base camp in Nepal. The north side is in Tibet, China, and you can actually drive to the north side base camp.
Yeah.
Because it's on a big wide open like Tibetan plain, and you can drive there. And then the real one then is like ABC, which they call Advanced Base Camp.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
like quite high. I think it's like well over 5,500 meters Advanced Base Camp.
Mm.
So yeah, we're in the safe though in Nepal.
Awesome.
Let's have a quick look. Any more we can do? Does anyone on the EBSEC help out with the Carry Me Back charity from Andrew Rooks? Yeah, everyone. So when you get to Namche, just to explain what that is, it's from an organization called Sagarmatha Next that look after the national park. One of their initiatives is the Carry Me Back campaign, where all single-use plastics are shredded and put into these little silver packs. They don't weigh much, but you can just clip them onto your bag. So usually between Namche and Lukla, going towards Lukla, you'll see loads of people like with all these little silver packs.
Cool.
And then when you get into Namche, you can unclip them and dump them.
Nice.
And then that gets transported out. So
That's
really, really, really good. And I highly recommend that anyone that goes to EBC clips on a few of those and helps get some bottles down.
Nice.
Awesome, guys. I think that's it for today. But yeah, really good one. Loads of questions as
loads
well.
of them.
So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you're enjoying your pancakes.
Yes. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The true meaning of the Tuesday tune-in has revealed itself.
Pancakes.
Yeah, and I think normal service will resume next week.
This isn't normal.
Well, you're a special guest.
Am I a special
A
guest?
special guest, you see. Yeah, extraordinary, I would call
There
this.
we go.
Yeah.
Saved it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Take
Nice one.
care. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.